This is happiness, to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Mood Prep. My name is Dave Nixon, and today will be talking around physical and mental health, which is kind of pretty much what this whole podcast is really about. So, one of the interesting things that I suppose I want to point out here is that the way that we view physical and mental health. Now, if I said to you, just the term itself, physical health, what first comes to mind? Is it a picture of someone unhealthy? Or is it a picture of someone overweight? Or is it a picture or thoughts about maybe someone who is active and strong or is body able and physically healthy? Now, when I say mental health, what comes up for you? Is it somebody who's mentally healthy and strong? Is it somebody who's unstable maybe, or appears to be unstable? Does depression or anxiety come to mind when I say mental health? Does the word stigma come to mind? It's interesting that for the most part, when I say physical health, people will think of someone who's physically healthy. When we say mental health, we actually think of more of the negative side of health. The reality is that we need to make sure that not just sort of raising awareness and the stigma around mental health, we need to push that aside, and we need to actually start recognizing and identifying what it is that we can do in ourselves and in our communities to help improve our mental health as a society, as a community, as a nation, as a world. And so a big part of that is really learning how to understand that if we want to get physically healthy, we have to own our behaviors, we have to own our training program, we have to own our bodies, and we have to move, we have to do something. If not daily, then every other day, really. Now, the interesting thing is that when it comes to mental health, for a lot of people, it's a little bit different. We're either mentally healthy or we're not. It's kind of like static. It's either or. It's not seen as a process. It's like, oh, I have anxiety. And you've probably heard me talk about anxiety, depression a fair bit. But somebody will be like, think of it, and I know it's different, don't call me directly on this, but it's similar to the idea of going, oh, I have obesity. It's like, hang on a sec, you don't have obesity, and you used to be overweight, but you're not anymore, so do you still have it? So the idea here is to go, okay, when I get anxious, rather than claiming that I have anxiety, I have a thing, and some of us do, I'm not talking about the small minority, I'm talking about the large majority of people here. Let's park that aside. Let's move that to the side for now, and let's look at it and go, if we really want to develop, let's take the what's the best word here? The qualities of those that develop physical health and apply it to mental health. Now let's see what that would look like. What that would look like is somebody decides that they're going to own their thoughts, they're going to own their emotions. They're going to take responsibility of how they react to people and things and words. Rather than telling other people not to do things because it hurts their feelings, they're going to own their feelings, recognize where that came from, and decide to do something different, right? So it's like, don't cook those foods. McDonald's should be closed because I'm overweight, or whatever the case might be. And it's kind of like, hang on a sec, that's not really how it works. We have to still put it on the inside. So when someone says something to me, I still have to put that on the inside. I can reject it. I had this conversation with someone recently, and they go, I told them something that I've told them before, which was a point of view, and they go, don't tell me that. You can't tell me that. I'm like, I fucking can tell you that. You just don't have to take it on. You just don't have to wear it. You can reject it. I can still hold my point of view. We don't have to agree. I don't mind. But you can't sit there and go, that hurts my feelings. Don't tell me that. You can't tell me that. It's like, mate, that's not how communication works. That's not proving me wrong and you right. And so this ability to start taking ownership of our feelings and our thoughts and what comes up for us allows us to move into this mental health space. It allows us to first take responsibility. Now, words can hurt, yes, and some people maybe aren't as mentally trained as others, and that's fine. It's the same thing for conditioning when it comes to physical health. It's conditioning with mental health, but we all have a responsibility. We all have a responsibility to uphold the right of others that they feel safe. We all have that responsibility. But we also have a responsibility to deal with what's in our responsibility. And there's only 4 things in our circle of responsibility. The 4 things, if you want to think of them as powers. It's behaviors, thoughts, emotions, and speech, right? Outside of that, somebody else's behaviors, thoughts, emotions, and speech is not our responsibility. It's not our responsibility at all. So it's our responsibility then to not only uphold a safe space for other people, but also to uphold the responsibility and ownership of our own emotions and our own thoughts and our own feelings. And can learn how we actually, because we have conditioned them. We have conditioned ourselves to behave and respond in particular ways. And we can change that if it's no longer resourceful for us. But it takes work. In the same way it takes work to go from being on the couch and then learning over time to start getting into the gym. We don't just go from being on the couch and, let's say, for the sake of the conversation, 20 kilograms overweight, to then being, deadlifting 200 kilograms and running 5K. That's not how it works. It's a slow process. And the mental health side of things is actually really similar. Is that when we're in a pretty bad space, and this is another point I want to point out here, if I'm that person on the couch wanting to do something, am I going to be shamed for asking for help? Am I going to be shamed for asking for guidance? Am I going to be shamed for falling on my face a couple of times and failing? No, of course I shouldn't be. And if I am, I'm around the wrong people, right? So why would we shame somebody who's taken themselves on the mental couch and decided to try and get themselves into a mental health routine? Of course we wouldn't. Why would we? Just step by step, buddy. Hey, it's okay. There's no fucking rush. It's a process. It's not a switch. You don't just get better. You don't just run 10K. You don't just run 5K. If you've been behaving and thinking in particular patterns for a long time, then it's probably going to take a little while to go the other way. And that's okay, because the time's going to pass anyway. So this is where we really get to have the opportunity to start over time taking responsibility and ownership for our thoughts and emotions, but really learning how to make and build a practice for our mental health training. Right? That's the whole idea of this podcast, but it's why I recommend people to read, learn more about how you think, get coaches wherever you find your coaches. It's not shameful for that person who's in a bad space to get a developmental coach or a psychologist or go see a counselor. I've seen them. I've spent a good, not a lot. I don't want to use that idea. I've spent a good investment on them. And it's been a good fucking investment because I was worth investing in. My mental health for me and my children was 100% worth investing in. I don't have children yet. But if I don't actually spend the money and invest in myself to become a more stable and understanding and patient human being, then they're going to be my practice dummies. And guess what? They're going to be putting a good investment into coaches and psychologists and the rest of that as well. So I have an opportunity, and this is something I'll talk about later in the week, to break the cycle of what I grew up with. That was what I recognized, and that's why I decided to make changes and to realize that it's what's more shameful than seeing a psychologist is never seeing one. That's how I decided to see it, because I'm too ashamed to view the things about me that are so challenging. And then I knew that someone else is going to have to cop that. I'm now becoming under responsible for how I behave and how I act and how I speak and how I think, more importantly, how I think of myself. And this is one of the reasons why we have to get this idea of people don't like us, that's okay. We have to like us. A lot of people don't even like themselves, and we're so worried about whether they like us or not. It's like, move past that, see what's important. But we have to be able to build this and invest in the same way we invest in our physical health around our mental health. And we have to start seeing it as a neutral to positive, not this negative. Everyone gets anxious, and everyone gets anxious about their anxiousness. It's just whether we're seeing it or not, or whether we're identifying as it. It's the same as people. Everyone gets happy, and everyone's been happy about being happy. Everyone's sat maybe, on an afternoon, maybe it's at the beach, or maybe you're somewhere and you've just had a laugh with someone really important to you or a group of people, and there's just been this moment where you flicker and you go, fuck, this is beautiful. This is what life's about. And you're happy about being happy. It's the same as being anxious about being anxious. We all do both. And it just is. And so when we learn how we can start moving into those things and how we learn how we create meanings about those behaviors and thoughts, then that's where we truly step into our power. And that's where we truly take control of our life. And on that note, team, I'm out. If you found this podcast beneficial, it would mean the world to me if you would pass it on to someone else that you think would also find it beneficial. If you haven't already, then please jump on Facebook, search Mood Prop Online and join the conversation there. I'd love to see you there. If you want to find out more about my coaching and how the services maybe, and the offers that I provide, then please feel free to jump on davenixon.com.au and hit me up. I'd love to have a chat. Otherwise, team, that's it. That's me. Done for today. Until next time, peace and pizza. Keep today in the dick. Slay the dragon. I'll see you soon.
To be everything at once, be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.